Good evening and welcome to the 6th round of the Porsche 935 USA Cup, presented by Sim Racing Online. We are finally at the end of this 6th round season, and we are now, I was just about to say, on the streets of Sebring. It's not in the streets, on the roads of Sebring, on the airfield of Sebring. I'm not too sure. On the bumps of Sebring, that may be more appropriate. So, while the drivers are just finishing off their practice session, which will go through some of the housekeeping. So if you haven't been here before, this is the 6th round, the 6th and final round. The championship is yet to be decided. We are running with the Porsche 935 cars. It's been a very, very difficult car to get to grips with for some drivers. It's a lock diff, so the bumps are going to probably prove quite difficult for this late 70s, early 80s car. 3 to 3.3 litre twin turbocharged flat 6. It's a nice sounding car as well. Where that's so we can see some track action. So the track, we're at Sebring. This is the modern layout of Sebring. FIA Grade 2 circuit. Currently runs the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with 12 hours of Sebring and the GT World Challenge along with the Trans Am series. It has run the WEC 1000 miles of Sebring in recent years. And it did actually, I believe it was a non-championship race in 1959 for the Formula 1, including FIA GT in 1997. So 17 turns, 3.741 miles, just over 6 kilometres of a bumpy asphalt. It does have several layouts, but we're using the 12-hour layout. Now, Sebring has been famous for many endurance races. In fact, in 1965 there was a 12-hour Sebring race where partway through the race, torrential rain, the track flooded, and they somehow kept going. The pits was knee-deep in water. So if you have access to YouTube, look up the 1965 12 hours of Sebring, and that should give you an idea of how treacherous that was. So, as I say, we're in the final round. This is how our championship table looks. In fact, I don't actually think I've updated it. So ignore the points there for now. They are pretty static. So it is still Nick Westy out the top with 162. I unfortunately haven't updated the points there, but Barrett Ericsson is not far behind on 144. Then Ed Jones in third, 139. Bjorn Hagman at 136. And Robin Taylor rounding out the top 5 with 127. So the top 5 is still up for grabs. I think that maybe the win is probably all said and done, unless something really dramatic happens. So this is the prediction that we're going to go with today. The prediction is that Nick Westy can take the championship. All he has to do is finish 8th. And it doesn't matter what anyone else does on the track. If he's 8th or higher, he wins on countback. We have seen that Nick Westy has blown an engine a couple of times. Well, maybe that was the first round, but I think he's managed to get his engine temperatures under control for the rest of the championship. So Barrett Ericsson, even if he finishes 2nd and Westy finishes 10th or higher, if he finishes 3rd, Westy is 11th or higher, then Nick Westy wins the championship. But Barrett Ericsson could win the championship, and a very rare occurrence if Nick Westy is 9th or lower. But Barrett Ericsson has to win. Now, Barrett Ericsson hasn't won a race at all this season, but we'll go through that when we get to looking at some of the drivers. So that's the tail of the tape. Let's go down the track side and see what kind of practice times people are doing. So it's quite a sunny day in Sebring at the moment. I believe it's 29 degrees Celsius, track temperature of 50 degrees, so these tyres are going to be hot. Very, very, very hot. So we're currently looking at Bjorn Hagman taking some practice laps around the circuit. Now Bjorn Hagman, currently 4th in the championship, has won a race this season. He won at round 4 and he has 2 third places, and I believe it's 2 third places and a 4th, so 4th in the championship. Probably needed to be a little more consistent to be in a shout for the championship win, but he's there or thereabouts, which is all good. If we look at Thomas Johansson, currently setting the pace with a 159.6. Thomas Johansson is actually the maker of this Porsche 935 mod, and so it's nice that Thomas was able to join us for this season. As, you see Robin Taylor just coming out in front of him, I believe. So Thomas Johansson is currently 9th in the championship. He's only been able to take part in 3 rounds this season. 9th in the championship, and he has been he has been 5th every single time he's competed. So consistency. So will he be 5th this time around? We will have to see. Lars Hagman currently in the pits. Lars Hagman has only been able to take part in 1 round this so far, which was round 4 in Road Atlanta, and he was able to get a 2nd place. So a lot more to come from Lars. He's normally up the front somewhere. Ken Jagger, one of the admins of the series, or in fact one of the admins of Sim Racing Online, currently in the pits at the moment. Ken Jagger has had some quite bad luck this season in particularly. I believe that this car has proved quite difficult to get a handle on. His best finish was actually 5th place in round 3. So he's got a 5th, a 6th, a 10th, and an 11th. But this car has proved a bit of a handful for Ken. So we'll see if Ken can improve. Now, as I say, Barrett Eriksson, as I cut to him just as he goes a little bit sideways, Barrett Eriksson is headed back to the pits. He's now got a 1. He's currently down in 5th at the moment. He's 2nd in the championship. Barrett Eriksson, his best finish was 2nd, but unfortunately for the remaining rounds, he hasn't quite been able to reach that 2nd place again. So he's been 6th 3 times, and 4th in the last round at Road Atlanta. So whether or not he can pull out something special in this last round. And then we have Robin Taylor, number 73, currently sitting in the pits. Robin Taylor, he had a nightmare round at Road Atlanta, came away with 9th place. Whenever I seemed to cut to him, he was always spinning. So he'd go up the field and spin and then have to work his way back up. But he won the first round, and then he followed that up with 2 third places. Missed round 4, and then had a nightmare round in round 5. So let's see if Robin Taylor can work with Nick Westy, his teammate, to bring home the championship win, because the team championship is up for grabs as well. So we'll have to see whether they can bring home the drivers' championship and the team championship. And 2 more to go. So Ed Jones, we normally call Ed Jones the tyre whisperer. He normally starts way down the order, but it's normally there at the end. His best finish this season was round 4 with a podium finish, able to get 3rd. He is 3rd in the championship, and he is teammates of Barrett Eriksson and Ken Jagger with Bad Voices Racing. One more on the server at the moment is Rob Milliken. You normally see or hear Rob Milliken behind the microphone for Sim Racing Online broadcasts, but this time he is behind the wheel on the number 54 on the blue livery. Rob Milliken was set to have a really good finish at Road Atlanta, but unfortunately a couple of spins knocked him back a bit, so his best finish has been a 4th place, which was in round 4. He's currently 8th in the championship. He's only been able to take part in 4 rounds of the 5. Missed out round 3, but I'm sure again he'll be there or thereabouts. A nice top 5 finish to finish out the season will be good. So that is the current number of drivers on the server at the moment. We are expecting a few more. We have about 5 minutes until qualifying. Qualifying will be a 10-minute session. So this is Lars Sebring just coming through the, I believe it's the second sector. Very fast second sector. It's going to be 4-wheel drifts through this section. There's a lot more tyres than I remember. I guess that's to stop the cutting of the course, but that could prove very difficult. So I believe there's going to be maybe a couple of passing opportunities. There's a big long back straight here called the Ullman Straight, and then on the brakes through the bumpy last turn called Sunset Bend, and under the bridge and over the line. So let's head on board with Lars. So he's coming through aptly named turn 1. Up towards turn 2. Should be a left, right and a left. So possibly trying to stay off these curbs. So Gurney Bend, long right-hander. Another good opportunity to get under the rear wing. And possibly make a pass down into what would be the hairpin turn. Up through the Fangio chicane. Hard braking down into the right-hander of Cunningham Corner, which heads straight into Collier Curve. Nervous on the throttle into the right-angle turn of Tower Turn. Slight locking of the tyres. Very short straight of Flying Fortress Straight. This is an airfield. So I imagine in World War II it was used for B-17s. Bishop Bend. And something that I can't really pronounce is Gendebian Bend. Got to get that section right. And then the last section is the Le Mans Curve. Got to get that section right because the passing opportunity onto this main straight. There's going to be a lot of drafting down here. Down the Ullman Straight. Don't want to brake too late. Otherwise you're heading towards that inviting barrier on the outside. Under the bridge. And that is 1 lap of Sebring. So Lars Hagman did put in a 1:58.2, setting the pace in the practice session. Not far behind his, what I believe maybe is his brother, uncle, father, son. We're not quite sure. They are related in some respects. But Bjorn Hagman, purple in first and second sectors. Not far away from the fastest lap done so far. But those curbs are proving quite tall, and I imagine that drivers are not wanting to hit them too much to unsettle the car, because as I said, This car does have a locked diff, so putting your tyres up on to the curb might unsettle it a bit. So Barrett Ericsson second in the championship at the moment. Currently his championship rival was not turned up today. He does have at least 2 minutes. He may turn up in qualifying, but we will see. Just checking messages to see if there's any particular updates on. I did have checked some updates. It looks like our championship leader may miss quali. So he might be out at the back, but I'm sure he'll work his way through the traffic. So Barrett Ericsson, currently 6th fastest. There's only 4 drivers at the moment that have popped into the under 2 minute mark, which is Lars Hagman, Bjorn Hagman, Thomas Johansson and Robin Taylor. Rob Milliken is now 2:01.1. So it looks like we do have a split field. The first 4 are on the pace with each other, and the latter 4 are on the pace with each other as well. So it looks like we are heading to quali. Who is going to be the first out in quali? Let's see. Just trying to get a good camera angle for you all. It looks like Lars Hagman might be the first out on track. Trying to get some clean air. I'd imagine that a draft down the back straight would be very helpful for these drivers. So Lars Hagman out first. Let's go a trip around the track with Lars Hagman. See how much he's pushing it on his out lap. So being very, very careful. So maybe that's a tactic of not overheating the tyres too soon. And there is a rule in sim racing online that you have to do an out lap, you have to do your qualifying lap, and you have to do an in lap. If you unfortunately crash, you have to make it back to the pits under your own power. WEC rules, basically. You have to make it back to the pits under your own power and take a pit stop once your qualifying is over. I believe it's quite a useful rule. It kind of stops the habit of some people that go out and do a flying lap and then press escape and come back to the pits and then do it again. Maybe it makes it a bit more authentic. So Lars Hagman first to set a time coming up what is the back straight, the Ullman straight, into the bumpy final turn, Sunset Bend. Pick your braking point, don't go too wide, otherwise the bumps will drag your car. Just keeping a very tight line, going over the stripe to get the launch to start his outlap. Down to turn 1, a wide turn in, slight slip of the rear coming through. Don't want to run too wide, that's good. No clipping of the curbs coming through the first few turns. Up towards Gurney Bend, the right-hander that seems to go on forever. As I say, if you can keep under the rear wing of someone here, He might have the opportunity to outbrake them down under the bridge. Down towards the hairpin turn. No dramas of lock-in brakes. This might just be a banker lap. We'll see if it's under 2 minutes. Through the Fangio chicane. And up towards Cunningham Corner. Be careful you're braking up here too. No locking of tyres. Giving the curves quite a wide berth, so very, very neat and tidy. This first lap running as wide as he needs to. I believe that tyre mark there was someone maybe pushing it a bit too far in practice. Quite bumpy through there, just feathering the throttle coming through these right-left chicanes. There's no get-out-jail-free card with the tyres in front of you there. So if you make a mistake, you're heading straight into the tyre wall. So down the long straight, the Ullman Straight. So it looks like everybody is quite spread out on the track. No one wants to be close to anybody else. Want to concentrate on their own pace. So Lars Hagman crosses the line. In fact, that must have been an invalid lap, because he has not put a time on the board. So Bjorn Hagman, purple in sectors 1 and 2, coming across the line. Okay, so Ken Jagger has put the first time in. Bjorn Hagman beats it with a 1:58.8. So it looks like Lars may have had a track limit violation there. I don't know why he's Thomas gets it slightly out of shape in the final corner. Personal best in the first 2. Goes up to 4th place. And Milliken now sits in 2nd, or now dropped down to 3rd, because Barrett Eriksson has found some pace and he's now 1:58.9. That's a hell of a lap time. So not far off pole at the moment, so he's found a bit of pace from practice. Not sure if this lap is going to be a push lap as well. It looks like Rob Milliken has called his session for the day. He's saying, right, that's enough for me. I can't... it's like getting the rear out. Oh, hits the curb and round he goes. Unfortunately, we were on board for that. Barrett. Ken Jagger currently in 4th place. Personal best sector 1, slightly down in his 2nd sector. Coming through these left-right bends, that's quite a tight line coming through there. Possibly take it a little bit wider. Maybe not too confident through this section. And taking cones after cones. And it does look like our championship leader has been able to join us. For the final minutes of quali, he may just be able to get a qualifying lap in. So Ken Jagger coming through the final turn. I'm just seeing that Bjorn Hagman has now gone up to the 1:57.7. He's on pole by 1.1 seconds. Ken Jagger comes across the line. Couldn't quite improve in his final sector. Stays 4th. Lars Hagman has some work to do. Currently in 7th place, but a best time of all in the 1st sector. Let's see what you can do coming through these Collier curves and down towards Tower Turn. Up towards the start of Sector 2, or the end of Sector 2 rather. Is he still purple? Not quite, but still a personal best in the 2nd sector. So Bjorn looks like he's mastered that 1st sector. Right, the 2nd sector. But Lars Hagman has The personal best in the final sector, first sector. Down the long Ullman Straight. It's got to be a 157.7. Keeping it very neat and tidy in this, not running too wide. Keeping it very tight, trying to avoid all of the bumps on the outside that can drag you wide over the line. That's a 157.8, so 4 hundredths of a second. 4 hundredths of a second off pole. So what we think are the Hagman brothers are first and second. Here is our championship leader going out for his first lap. He won't actually make a qualifying lap, so he will start at the back of the grid. So he's got to be very careful picking his way through from the start. So it looks like we are just coming down to 1 minute to go. Bjorn Hagman has improved by 0.2 of a second. His brother is now 0.2 off pole. But he does have one more lap in the bag. Barrett Ericsson on an out lap. I don't think he will finish this into a timed lap. He's too far away. Gets it all wrong coming up to the final part. Bjorn Hagman, current pole sitter. I don't think he can be beat. There's a big gap between second and third, and it does look like the top two may be out of reach for the rest of the drivers. Bjorn Hagman is not improving on this lap. As the seconds count down, 10 seconds to go. He will finish this lap he's on, but it's not a he's not going to improve. Oh, Lars was pushing so much in that final turn. The bumps led him out wide and pulled him into the barrier. I believe that should be the end of it, because it's only Barrett Ericsson that could improve, but he's only on an out lap. He's getting as much track time as he can. But I believe that is the end of quali. And there we go. So, let's check the standings, or the qualifying result. If I can find the button. I'm going to set the starting order. If we look at our starting order. So, Bjorn Hagman in pole for this final round. Lars Hagman, his brother, uncle, in the second. Barrett Ericsson third. Thomas Johansson in fourth. Robin Taylor in fifth. Rob Milliken in sixth. Ken Jagger in seventh. Ed Jones in eighth. And if Nick Westy can get back in for the race, he may join in warm-up. Then he may join us for the race. It does have a championship on the line, so it would work to his advantage to get back in. So we have 5 minutes of warm-up for this last event. I should tell you what's going on in the rest of the sim racing online world. What we've got coming up are many events. Some of them, I was going to say televised, they're not really televised. Streamed. Some of them are streamed. So once this event has finished, tomorrow, Sim Racing Online is running the Automobilista 2 GT4 Challenge. That's currently ongoing, so that's tomorrow. And then after that, Project Cars 2 League race with the BMW M1 Pro car. That's April 1st. And then we're back streaming for... I will be streaming on the Sim Racing Online channel on April 3rd for the Formula 1979 V8 Championship in Assetto Corsa. That should be epic. We've got a good set of tracks. Historic tracks for that, fantasy tracks as well. So looking forward to trying my hand at broadcasting Assetto Corsa. It's a new set of tools, so I've got to get used to using some different tools to broadcast the race. But we have worked it out a little. After that, Sunday, April 6th, we're back with R Factor 2, and it is the second of the 4 championships that Sim Racing Online is running this season, which have prizes. So the first was the IndyCars, that's now finished. That finished last week. The second of these is the Enduracers P2 and GTE Asian Championship. So that starts on April the 6th. And then April the 12th, we have Le Mans Ultimate LMU GTE Challenge. That is broadcast on the Sim Racing Online YouTube channel. And then a new series for April, back to R Factor 2, starting April the 13th, which is the Formula Renault 1975 Championship. Now, I have signed up for this one. I don't know if I'm going to take part or broadcast it. Not too sure. But it does look quite fun. Some vintage cars with very little downforce. So it should be good, some good sliding fun. Some good historic tracks I remember. And then in April the 14th, back with Automobilista 2, it's the F301 Dallara Open Wheel Challenge. Basically an F3 car. And then Tuesday, April the 15th, Project Cars 2 Ferrari 488 Challenge. So a good set of races from Sim Racing Online. You are free to join. There is no cost to join up. So simracingonline.co.uk. They run R Factor 2, Automobilista 2, Project Cars 2, Assetto Corsa, and Le Mans Ultimate. So that should be fun. And maybe I might be behind the wheel. You never know. You never know. So, as I say, there's a championship up for grabs tonight. It does look like our championship leader has got in warm-up with 1 minute to go. So, that's all good. So we're set for 60 minutes of action around Sebring. There is no mandatory pit stops for this. So we'll see whether tyre wear is going to be an issue. Tyre wear was an issue in the opening rounds, but I think people have got a handle on it for these remaining rounds, so pit stops are not mandatory. So we probably won't see people going into the pits. So we are just about to switch over to the race. We'll see the cars just lining up on the grid. Thankfully I've got my track map today, so I can get extra confused by all the little dots moving around the track. So 60 minutes of racing to come. Championship to be decided. Remember, Nick Westy only has to finish 8th to win the championship, and there's only 9 drivers on the track. So I mean, it's not inconceivable that something might happen, but we will have to see. So we're gonna look at Lars Hagman, second on the grid. Good set of cars, last round. Red lights are going to come on soon. Here we go. 60 minutes of racing. Good start by the Hagmans out front. No particular wheel spin issues. Down into turn 1. Everyone gets away cleanly. No issues. It looks like Lars is taking a wide line. Got caught on the curb just around the outside. He made a good start, but unfortunately got caught on the curb and he couldn't quite get off the curb. He was in the lead for milliseconds. Nick Westy from 9th place is already up to 6th. So Barry Ericsson in 3rd, keeping his championship hopes alive. Down towards the hairpin turn for the first time. Barry Ericsson was very close to taking out the rear of Lars Hagman there. Joins back in the pack amongst Ken Jagger and Robin Taylor, who run 3rd and 4th. Spin from Ken Jagger. Spin from Ken Jagger knocks him down to the back of the grid. This brings Nick Westy back up into 5th place, currently behind his championship contender. That car does look very, very, very loose. Can Baron Ericsson defend, or is he thinking about a big picture? He does go shallow into that complex of turns. There is no way to bump over the curves because there's a tyre barrier in the way. Thomas Hansen right behind. It's a little bit of oversteer. Come onto the main straight. In the draft of Barrett Ericsson. I wonder whether tyre wear and engine temperatures are going to be an issue. That was a bit optimistic. Very optimistic. You're going to need to be a bit more alongside for that. Can't spoke your nose upside Sunset Bend. Over the line for the second lap. The two Hagman brothers have pulled out over 2 or 3 seconds. But the championship battle is back here for 4th and 5th. How aggressive does Nick want to be? He doesn't need to win this race, nor does he need to overtake Ericsson. Currently, Westy is in 5th, and he can stay there and can still win the championship. Pulls out down towards the hairpin. Doesn't quite have the overlap. That does make Barrett go a little bit wide. That was a bit aggressive. I would feel a bit aggrieved if I was Barrett. He basically shuffled him out of the way there. Thomas Johansson is probably going to try and capitalise on that, back in 6th place. We come up this short straight through Bishop Bend. So yeah, very differing a number of lines coming through there. Some people are taking the turns a bit tighter. See Rob Milligan having a little trouble keeping his nose inside that turn. Currently in 7th place. And that looks like Robin Taylor ahead, letting through his teammate. Making sure he gets as many points as possible. Now is Robin Taylor going to back the pack up? This lap time for Hagman in the 2-minute area. I don't think race pace is going to be too many laps under 2 minutes. Robin Taylor running a little bit wide in the first turn, giving Barrett Ericsson the opportunity to close up in these first few turns. But Bjorn Hagman is away by 2 seconds. Lars Hagman in 2nd. Nick Westy another 5 seconds adrift. But this battle for 4th, 5th, 6th the hairpin bend. So looking at the lap times here, Robin Taylor is in the 2:03s, and we do know Barrett Ericsson can run faster than that. So is this a tactic by Black Cat Motorsports? Slowing the pace down, letting his teammate Westy get away. To go on board with Barrett Ericsson. Must be very frustrating seeing his championship go off into the distance, basically. It's locking of tyres. He's having a hell of a job keeping the nose of the car in. The car is a very oversteery beast. As I say, mega understeer coming onto the straight, which gives Thomas Johansson a chance to catch up. You see the large gap between Lars Hagman and Nick Westy in third. Thomas does get close into Sunset Bend. I think Taylor's line caught out Barrett coming into Sunset Bend and made him slow up a bit. In fact, we are under the 2-minute mark, 1:59.3. Again, go on board with Thomas Johansson. Through the first few turns, you can see his quarry ahead. And imagine if he's got a lot of seat time in this car, considering he made the car. Slightly wide onto the curb. It's exactly where you don't want to be dropping back, because this is one of the passing opportunities up this straight here. If we go back to Lars, his brother, uncle, father, we don't know. Maybe we should have asked. With 52 minutes to go. You can see him going off into the distance. This would match Lars Hagman's best finish of the series so far. A second place. He has only been able to take part in one round of the championship. If we look at the gap to next, Nick Westy currently is 2.8 behind. It does look like he's closing. So current lap times of Bjorn Hagman in the lead, out on his own. 1:59.3, so he's not hanging about. Wants to extend this gap as much as possible. Unfortunately for Bjorn, he's sometimes come to grief near the end of the race, which has spoiled some of his good finishes. But if we drop back to one of the closest battles on track, he did look closer when he was coming up to the Sunset Bend. As Nick Westy puts a fastest lap time of the race in a 1:58.9, so he is catching the top two. He wants to round out this series in style. But second, third, fourth and fifth in the championship is still up for grabs. So we're going to have to do some points on the fly once we are finished. So 50 minutes to go. Robin Taylor now further up the road. He's increased his pace to a 2-minute. So that 2:03 was probably the lap that he let his teammate through. Taylor has had some inconsistent rounds later on in the championship. Unfortunately, this car has got the better of him. Road Atlanta in the last round was a particular sore point. Like I said, every time I seem to go on board with Robin Taylor, he was overtaking someone and then unfortunately having a spin. He's been chased by Barrett Ericsson in fifth rather. Now these bumpy turns, I'd imagine that understeer. We're only 10 minutes into this race. What are these tyres going to feel like near the end? So we have first to about 6th in the length of the Almond Straight. Nick Westy now is 1.2 behind Lars Hagman. How much does he want to push to be up into 2nd place? So Lars Hagman has only taken part in one event this season, so he's not in the running for the championship, but it's there or thereabouts in the series that he does take part in. I believe the round that he did take part in was, if I can remember rightly, it may have been Laguna Seca in round 4. Hard braking down to the hairpin. Bumping over the curves, a bit untidy, which stops the momentum onto the Fangio chicane. Can't really call it a chicane. I think Westy has got to be careful. Taking a front fender of this car is probably not going to do him any favours. Up towards Bishop Bend through Gendebian Bend, if I pronounce it, Gendebian Bend. Don't want to run too wide into those tyres. Now, usually WEC layout doesn't have those tyres on the track. It's running very wide. This car does of course have turbocharge, and you can push the fuel mixture up. So through the final turn, Lars going a little bit wide, just coming off the line. The bump's taking him wide, which does let Nick Westy through into 2nd place. Now the chase begins to catch Bjorn out in front. Bjorn is now a 5.7 seconds up the road. That's perfectly possible. There's a long way to go in this race. 47 minutes to go, in fact. 2nd and 3rd. This battle may not be over with. I think Lars may have something to say about 2nd place. So we go on board with Lars coming through the hairpin turn up towards the Fangio chicane. Although Lars hasn't actually put a time in under 2 minutes yet. Maybe the carrot in front, the metaphorical carrot in front, will give him a target to search for, or maybe he's just pacing himself. I think Westy has had to come from the back of the grid, so tyre wear may become a bit of an issue a bit later on. He may be full on boost as well in order to get up to the lead again, as we ran through at the start of the program. Doesn't need to win the championship today. His nearest championship contender, Barrett Eriksson, is back in 5th place. Westy, all that Westy needed. As we see Robin Taylor just run a little bit wide onto the Almond Straight. He only needs 8th place, and there are only 9 cars on the track. So perfectly possible. But anything can happen in the next 45 minutes. As Bjorn Hagman puts a fastest lap of the race, 58.7. So he's not hanging about. He wants this win. Bjorn Hagman has got 1 win this season, which I believe was in the 4th round. So it'll be good to repeat it. I think maybe he's got a bit more of a handle on this car now. It's all about fuel efficiency, when you want to use your boost, when you don't, when you want to turn the engine up, when you want to turn it down. Who knows? So So go back to the back of the field. We did see that Ken Jagger had a little bit of a spin on the first lap, but he's now right behind Rob Milliken, battle between 7th and 8th. Very, very similar pace, both running in the mid 2:01 lap time range. So it looks like this is a battle for the remainder of this race. Again, there aren't any mandatory pit stops, so pit strategy is not going to be a thing. It is just going to be whether you fueled to the end of the race and taken boost into account, or engine mixture into account. As I said before in the build-up, Rob Milliken is normally in the broadcast booth, but he's now behind the wheel, wrestling these Porsche 935s around the curves of Sebring. Do you see the drivers taking it very careful over these curbs? They do seem to unsettle the car. But I think if you can just hook the wheel up on the inside, it possibly keeps your car from understeering as they go onto the back straight. With 43 minutes to go. Now the fastest lap of the race for Bjorn Hagman, a 1:58.6. He's in the rhythm. A lot of rubber going down from the start of the session. This track is going to be very rubbered in once we are finished there. We aren't expecting any different weather conditions. It is going to be dry all the way through. As I said, it's about 30 degrees. Quite a hot air temperature. 53 degrees track temperature. So maybe that might come into it a bit later on. I think that's the highest track temperature we've seen so far. So we'll do the left-right section up towards Tower Turn. So it looks like the drivers are quite spread out. So we've got Bjorn Hagman in first. Nick Westy, our championship leader, matching Hagman's time, but not really gaining at all. He's now 7 seconds adrift of the lead. He doesn't really need to push it. He could probably lift and coast. Maybe save some boost for the end of the race if he really wants to go for the win. He was aggressive in the first half of the race. He didn't need to actually overtake to win the championship. But he wants to go out on a high. Lars Hagman in third. Come down to Sunset Bend. The fastest lap for Bjorn Hagman, a 1:58.4. So he's making hay whilst the sun shines, as it were. Pulling out a gap. He's got a handle on this car. We drop back to Robin Taylor in fourth. A teammate of Westy out in front for Black Cat Motorsports. I believe with this finish they probably will take the drivers and the team championship. Won't be able to do any calculations of the team championship on the fly, so we'll have to leave it with the drivers championship for now. Fifth place, second in the championship, Barrett Eriksson, down in fifth at the moment. As I said, Barrett Eriksson is his best finish of the series so far was the first round, where he finished second. Been consistently in sixth place, and his last round he finished in fourth. There's a lot of fast drivers in this series. Fortunately, consistently C has made him get up to second place, but hasn't been able to stay in the lead of the championship. Thomas Johansson, as I say, the maker of this Porsche 935 mod, he's probably well at home sitting in the cockpit of this thing. Currently in sixth place. Thomas Johansson 9th in the championship. I believe it's actually his first series with us as well. 40 minutes remaining. Got Milliken coming onto Ullman Straight. Ken Jagger has dropped back. He's now putting in lap times in the 2-minute range, so he may catch Thomas Johansson by the end of the race. He is putting in faster lap times. It's around the 2-minute 2:01. I believe that Westy has just put a fastest lap of the race in the 1:57.4, so he's now catching the leader, Bjorn Hagman. He's now within 5 seconds. As Ken Jagger crosses the line in 8th, he's now in the 2-minute range as well, so he's maybe finding some pace. Now the rubber's got down and now he's warmed up. And then we have Ed Jones, as we got to him, unfortunately running over the curves. Seem to be finding Sebring quite tough. Currently 3rd in the championship. Don't expect Ed Jones to be right down the back. But slow and steady tyre whisperer, we call him. So Bjorn Hagman is responding. Purple in the 2nd sector. But we can see that gap coming down. And wants to keep it at 5 seconds or more. New Sunset Bend. There's now a definite rubber line getting put down quite tight. It is quite a tight line in Sunset Bend. You don't really want to go too wide, otherwise it does suck you into the outside barrier. Westy now putting in a 1:57.2, so he's finding a lot of pace in this car. But is he taking too much out of his tyres before the end of the race? He does still have 37 minutes to go. We did see qualifying lap times come down into the, I believe it was down in the 1:57 or very low 1:58 range, so they're running at qualifying pace at the moment. We wonder whether it's full boost mode. Lars Hagman is currently in a very comfortable 3rd place. So the cars are quite spaced out at the moment. There isn't very many cars that are very close to each other. We've got some good series coming up in R Factor 2 with Sim Racing Online. As I say, we've got the Formula Renault 1975 Championship and the Enduro-Races P2 and GTE Asian Championship. So those will be some good tracks to challenge our drivers. If you feel like signing up, simracingonline.co.uk is the place to go. Lars is really overheating those rears coming through those final turns. Robin Taylor in a very comfortable 4th place. And sometimes happens with these races that it's a bit of a lull in the middle of the race because everyone spaces out from each other. Sometimes if there are mandatory pit stops, it does spice things up. But Taylor does have Lars Hagman in view at the end of the straight there, so he's not far away. He's only within 4 seconds. Lars is now down to a very high 1:59, as is Taylor. And then you have this gaggle of cars from 5th downwards in the 2 to 2:01 range, one of which is 2nd in the championship, Barra Eriksson. Now dropped a bit further behind is Thomas Johansson. He's now 4.5 seconds, so he must have made a little bit of a mistake. Can't quite stay in the 2-minute range. But he does still have Eriksson in view. Everyone seems to be within a straight of each other. No one wants to get any closer than that. Gap for the lead now down to 4.4 seconds. Behind Thomas Johansson is Rob Milliken. 5 seconds behind, so you can just see the car in front. Just disappearing in the distance. I do wonder whether people are now in the preservation mode. They want to save something till the end of the race. The top two really are pushing the limits of lap time. So will Hagman respond? Bjorn Hagman respond? Slowly but surely, Westy is creeping up behind. Just over 4 seconds. Coming into this final turn. Let's drop on board with Bjorn. Under the bridge along the front straight. See how late he brakes for turn 1, just around about at the pit marker there. Lot of understeer. Squeak at the brakes coming through this section. Slight dab onto the curb, unsettling the car, but a good exit onto the straight. Gap is now down to 3.5 seconds. Down towards the hairpin, keeping it tight. Through the Fangio chicane. And up towards Cunningham Corner. Looking hard down into Cunningham Corner. To the right. And the left Collier curve. And through this right hand turn of Tower Turn. Steering clear of the curb. Flying Fortress straight. It's quite a short straight. And then through this very fast section, the tyres are probably screaming through here. Through Bishop Bend. Gendeblen Bend, that's what I'm going to call it. That's what this one is. And through Le Mans Curve. And onto the Allman Straight. So the lead has now come down to 3.4 seconds. I'd say probably in about 3 or 4 laps we're going to have a battle for the lead. Should be exciting with just over half distance. So time does fly. Time does fly when you're having fun. Another fastest lap of the race, 1:57.0. So Nick Westy is taking a lot out of his tyres to catch the leader. Will he have any tyres when he gets there? This car is very, very loose. No tyre wear actually come into play at all. A short straight up towards the hairpin. So you can just about see Bjorn Hagman in the distance. Now down to 3 seconds. I think this is possibly going to be done on the brakes somewhere. I am seeing that Thomas Johansson has closed up a little bit on Barrett Ericsson. Gap is now 2.3 seconds. I did see Ericsson just kicking up a little bit of dust. He got pulled onto the curb there. It does look like this gap is coming down. Still in the 2-minute range. The leaders are setting all kinds of purple sectors. 1:57s. And then Lars Hagman in the 1:59s. But back to the lead. Gap is still 3 seconds. 30 minutes to go. We are at half distance. How much do we want to push this last 30 minutes? It's been a scintillating pace in the first 30 minutes. but it will be good in April. Coming up, we're going to have some open wheel series, which is always good fun. It obviously makes a difference in your driving when you can't kind of lean on each other. You've got to be very careful with open wheel racing. And particularly the 1975 Renault series that's coming up. I might actually try the mod that they've chosen. A good number of interesting tracks as well. So the as I say, we've also got the Automobilista 2 GT4 Challenge Brazil Championship that's currently ongoing. Project Cars 2 BMW M1 Pro Car series. And then we have the next series that I will be broadcasting on the Sim Racing Online YouTube channel, which is the RSS Formula 1979 V8 Championship in Assetto Corsa. Do sign up. Got a skin pack involved, so we got some historic paint jobs for that one, which should look really good. So as I say, going back to the series of the Formula 1979, again a 6-round series seems to be the sweet spot. We currently have 11 drivers signed up, and it's taking place on some fantasy tracks and some real world tracks. Places such as Black Cat County and other names of tracks I can't pronounce. Lake Garrett, we've got Tulnut Langenbarn, 1968, we've got Mont Tremblant, 1969, the Le Mans Bugatti Circuit, 1967, and Zolder, 1967. So some good 60s tracks. Good 60s tracks. So whilst we've been talking, Ed Jones is picking up his pace a little near the back of the field. You can see that one Ken Jagger has dropped back a bit, because Ed Jones is now within 2 seconds of Ken Jagger ahead. So the battle for the rear of the field is not over and done with. So it doesn't matter where we are in the field, there is a battle all the way down. 27 minutes to go. So the next R Factor 2 series, if we have a look at that one as well, which starts on April the 13th. We'll run it on a Sunday. So we're running an Albi, Anneau de Rin, Croix de Tournoy. I'm butchering. No, it's Croix en Tournoy. I'm butchering these French names. Magny-Cours, Nogaro, and Val de Vienne. I think all of the tracks are French, because it's a Renault Championship. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? It's all themed. It's all themed. So it looks like the gap to the leader is now 22 seconds. So something has happened whilst we were chatting. I don't think anyone has come in for a pit stop. I'm looking at the last lap times. Maybe Nick Westy had a little bit of an off. I can't imagine that Bjorn Hagman has suddenly pulled out 15 seconds out of his pocket. He's found a shortcut somewhere. Unless it's just an error in the timing, but 22 seconds. I'm looking at the track map here. He is further up the road, so I really don't know where that 20 seconds have come from, but that's 20 seconds in his pocket. He'll take it. He'll take it. But this obviously drops Nick Westy back into the clutches of Lars Hagman. But again, I don't know if Lars is hanging back a little. He's only in the 1:59 2-minute range. You can see Nick Westy up ahead, but I don't know whether he's maybe saving his tyres for 15-minute dash at the end. Westy ahead has been putting in 1:57s, and it has just come up on my timesheet. It was a 2:17, so Nick Westy did make a mistake. Dropped him down towards third place, so pushing a little bit too hard. And then we have Robin Taylor a little bit further back. You can only just see Lars Hagman ahead, slightly running wide into this section of the circuit. He's now down into the 1:59s. But he is slipping and sliding, so these tyres are getting very, very warm. Coming in the last 25 minutes of this race. Unfortunately, Thomas Johansson was up to about 2.75 seconds behind, but he's now dropped back again. It seems it's quite hard to keep these cars consistently on pace for some of these drivers. Maybe the tyres do get quite hot and the car starts slipping around a lot. He did say we got a big, quite a great track temperature of 52 degrees, so maybe that is playing into it. Dropping back to 7th place, Rob Milliken. Out on his own, unfortunately. Everyone's very equidistant. The closest battle on the track is now within 2 seconds, so Ed Jones is really catching Ken Jacker. I assume that they're going to be having a big battle at the end of this race. But Ed Jones has been slowly creeping up towards Jagger for 8th and 9th place. It doesn't matter what positions these drivers are in, this battle's all the way down. Ken Jacker will apparently, I think, was in a 5th place, started 5th place. You can see the positions gained and lost. So Lars Hagman dropped down 1 place. Robin Taylor up 1 place. Ericsson up 2. Johansson up 2. No, that's down 2. I can't read. Rob Milliken down 1. Jagger down 1. And Ed Jones down 1. For some reason it's saying Nick Westy is in the place that he was. I don't think that's true, because he started at the back of the grid. So I don't quite know what the timing tower is talking about there. So 22 seconds for our leader. Got 22 minutes and 22 seconds to catch. I don't think that's going to happen. So Bjorn Hagman can settle down, do a bit of lifting and coasting, and possibly lift off a little. The top 2 are now in the 1:59 range, so they've now dropped towards the pace of Lars Hagman in 3rd, who's been consistently in the 1:59s. So that scintillating early pace has taken the edge off their tyres. So again, I am dropping back to the back of the field because this is the closest battle. So Ed Jones going into the final sunset bend, keeping it quite tight on the grippier part of the track. He now has Ken Jagger to follow. Don't like the sound of those gear changes though. Through the first bend, keeping it very, very tight against the wall. Not using all of the track. Very early downshift. Don't want to pop that engine. Keeping it tight, and you want to stamp on the throttle through Gurney's bend up towards the short straight. Jagger ahead is only 1.5 seconds. That's what 1.5 seconds looks like. So closer and closer it gets. Look like Ed Jones ran a little bit wide there, dropping himself back onto the straight, but Not too much time lost. Not too much time lost at all. So these two might be battling till the end of the race. Now 20 minutes to go. Unfortunately, Ken's mistake early on has cost him. Whether or not he would have been able to stay in around 5th place. I think he just got it all crossed up in the first few bends and went around. Unfortunately, we were on board for that little spin. Down through these left to right bends, avoiding that tyre barrier, which it's very unusual to see that tyre barrier. Because I'm very used to seeing that corner very, very open. And if you get it wrong, if you get your braking wrong, you've got like a get out of jail free card. Barry Ericsson has been overtaken for 5th place. Thomas Johansson has got ahead. I believe that is a mistake on the last lap from Barry Ericsson. He put in a 2:05, so we now can have 2 battles to look at. Unfortunately, I can't go split screen, but Barry Ericsson wants that 5th place back. At the moment, Westy will win the championship from 2nd place. And Ericsson is basically, all he has to do is beat his teammate Ed Jones, and he has got 2nd in the championship. Oh, slight. I think he got a wheel on the dirt there and couldn't slow the thing down. He did well to actually get that thing stopped. And now that meant that Rob Milliken might come into play, who is steadily back there in 7th, and he goes, nearly a freebie. Saw some cones and some dust, but not quite. It does look like maybe Jones was pushing a little too much, and he's now dropped back to 4 seconds behind. But that mistake, all of that hard work that Barrett had done to catch up, or to try and recover from losing 5th place, he's now dropped back to 6th, and he's 1.5 seconds behind. It doesn't look like anyone's putting any purple sectors in, which I wouldn't imagine they would be at the end of this race. 17 minutes to go. Thomas Johansson is possibly ducking out to have a look in the mirrors. We have had some instances where people have miscalculated their fuel and had slowed at the end of the race. So who's done the best job with fuel efficiency? That seems to be one of the banes of the existence of these cars. Is that if you're really trying to skimp on weight, you might. I don't think they're very close on the fuel, particularly, but Barrett is able to close up on Johansson, so he's got more pace. So it must have just been a small mistake. Down the short straight up towards the hairpin turn. Now you don't want to touch the wheel on the dirt again like you did last time. He's got Thomas Johansson in his sights. It's going to be up one of these short straights. There is only I would say there's 2 literal straights on this course. It's like looking at the tyres for Johansson. He's putting him under pressure. So can Ericsson push Johansson into a mistake, leaving large black lines? It's not going to do these tyres any good. It does look like Ericsson might be a bit faster through this section. Again, Thomas is really struggling to slow this car down. This is the opportunity that Ericsson has needed. He's really struggling with tyre wear, it seems. He's probably within draft range. Within 0.2. He's going to have a little bit of a look. Thinks better of it. Maybe he's leaving it to the front straight. He's made Thomas make a little bit of a mistake. He saw that he was very weak on the brakes and getting the nose in. So all he did was wait for his opportunity, and through he goes back to 5th place. Great battle for 5th and 6th between Ericsson and Johansson. Just under 15 minutes to go. Now can they both keep the wheels on their Porsches? At the end of the race, the lead has now come out to 25 seconds. So I believe that Bjorn Hagman has probably got this one. He just needs to really calm it down for the end of the race and not push too much. I suppose it's easily done on worn tyres. But is Johansson feeling that he wants that 5th place back? Has he got the pace? Does he have the tyre wear? He did look like he was struggling to get the nose in of the car. Couldn't get the thing rotated. Whether or not it was because Ericsson was filling his mirrors and putting him off. But he did seem to be very wheeling on the brakes. Couldn't quite get it slowed down. Leaving big black lines everywhere. But it does seem that maybe Ericsson is now pulling out a little bit of a gap. Onto the Ulmann straight again. It did seem that once you're within about 0.3, 0.2 of the car in front, big bit of draft. See in the background, Thomas Johansson is finding it very difficult to keep that nose in. But we are still knocking on the doors of 2 minutes 2:01. So as Ericsson comes through the first few bends, avoiding these curbs, maybe that was his failing before. I say that. He jumps over one of them. So we're just over 12 minutes to go. Is Bjorn Hagman out in the lead by 24 seconds? I think maybe Nick Westy behind has resigned himself to grabbing just the 2nd place and sealing the championship today. It was a bit of a tall order to come from the back of the field with no practice, no qualifying. And up to 2nd he goes. And we have Lars Hagman in 3rd. He's only 3 seconds behind. It's been a pretty stable gap. Lars has been in the 159 range. He's been very consistent this round. The top 2 have been putting in the 157s and 158s, but Lars has just been solidly putting in the 159s. He's like a machine. So we'll see whether we'll keep an eye on that gap. It's only nearly 4 seconds now, between 3.5 4 seconds. 4th place, Robin Taylor. It would be a good finish for Robin Taylor if he finishes in 4th place after his disaster at Road Atlanta. But again, a consistent run. He made way for his teammate at the start of the race. I thought there may be some team tactics involved. His teammate needed as many points as possible, although he only needed to finish in 8th place to take the championship. And Barrett Ericsson would have had to win. But we'll have to see what the points are like, so I'm going to have to do some... It takes a little bit of an excursion. How far behind is Barrett Ericsson? 25 seconds down the road, so he's in no worry of losing 4th place. So Barrett Ericsson now retaken 5th place from Thomas Johansson, who's now dropped back to about 2 seconds adrift in 6th. And 7th place in the same straight is Rob Milliken. He's struggling for grip down in towards that hairpin. Maybe he's pushing a little. He's now in the 159 range, so he's found some pace late on in the race. Maybe seeing one of the cars in front coming towards him, he's he's been able to find a bit more pace in the car. It's always easier sometimes to chase. So 159.1 was his last lap, so he's pushing on. Maybe he's got the fuel to burn as well. And then we have 8th place, Ken Jagger. Ed Jones has not let him get away. So 8th is Ken Jagger, with Ed Jones not far behind. He's been shadowing Ken for this entire latter half of this race. So and I'm seeing on the timesheets that the fastest lap of the race is a 1:57.0, so nearly down to the 1:56s. But I imagine that if you're trying to push the 1:57, 1:56 range, your tyres are going to be burning, absolutely burning. Because, as I said, air temperature 29 degrees Celsius, track temperature 52 degrees. Again, the closest battle on the racetrack at the moment, with just over 8 minutes to go, is Thomas Johansson with Barrett Eriksson in front. We're going to have to try to do some quick maths to see where our championship points are going. So I'm not great at maths, so I use a spreadsheet. So it will be 40 points for Nick Westy. No, what I'm talking about, it'd be Bjorn Hagman with 40 points. Nick Westy with 36. Lars Hagman would get 33. Rob Milliken really is closing up in the latter stages of this race. Maybe Johansson's tyres really are giving out. He's really struggling to get that nose in. And Milliken has got a bit between his teeth. Taylor in 4th, which would be 30 points. Nearly matching his best finish. Currently Eriksson is in 5th. And that'll be 28 points. So locking up again coming through this section. I mean, if you do get that corner wrong, you are heading straight in towards those tyre barriers, aren't you? 6th place is Johansson. And there we get 26 points. Milliken in 7th. We would get 24. Ken Jagger in 8th. Would get 22. And it's now within a second. So Milliken really has caught up in this latter stage of the race. Maybe he has been saving his tyres right to the end. Look how close Milliken has got to the rear end of Johansson. It is the closest battle on track at the moment. How sensible is he going to be in these final stages? He has the pace. It was as simple as that. Simple as that. A mistake from Johansson and Milliken has gone through. Maybe he didn't think it was going to be that easy. Maybe he was setting up for a battle. It does look like that maybe the hot temperatures of Florida have caught Johansson out. Locking of the tyres. Is that frustration, or is just that he has run out of grip? And in all of that, we have missed that Ed Jones has now got past Ken Jagger. So a slight mistake from Ken Jagger. It looks like he dropped 2 seconds in that last lap. So it looks like a mistake from Ken Jagger has let Ed Jones through into 8th place. Just as well, really, because I was just about to calculate his points. So that means that Ken Jagger has 9. So if they stay where they are, I won't give away the ending. So Ed Jones now back up to 8th. We drop back to our leader. A commanding lead with just over 5 minutes to go. 20 seconds. So this will be Bjorn Hagman's second win of the season if he keeps it together. He just has to stroke it home, as it were. Just has to stroke it home. not putting in 57s, just he's in the 2-minute mark. You can see that Nick Westy behind is putting in 159s, but he's not going to close 20 seconds in 5 minutes. As we drop back to this battle, it looks like maybe Rob Milliken had a little bit of a... not off. Don't push it, Rob. You've got this. You've got this 6th place. Are they both running out of rubber? They're having a right old ding-dong. A right old ding-dong. We're going to stick with this battle. A right old ding-dong. It looks like one person makes a mistake. Goes through. Oh, it looks like a little bit too late. Johansson coming up the short straight through this right left section. Fangio chicane. Can Milliken keep the wheels on his wagon? Johansson chasing the back wing of that blue car of Milliken ahead. This is a cracking showdown. Did have a lull in the middle of the race, but this looks like a cracking battle to finish off. So Johansson and Milliken going at it like there is no tomorrow. This is the last race of the season, so you might as well go out with a bang, so to speak. But it looks like Milliken was saving his tyres. And was able to lulled Johansson into a mistake, and through he went. So Johansson is probably kicking himself. He didn't have the rubber to compete with the other cars around him, and he's steadily gone backwards. So Rob Milliken picks up a place near the end of the race, just under 2 minutes to go. Just looking where the leader is on the track map. The leader is coming onto the back straight. It looks like the next lap may be the final lap. It just depends how quickly Bjorn Hagman gets to the line. We may go 2 laps now. He could actually slow down, but I don't think he will. So it looks like this is going to be 2 laps towards the end. Maybe he didn't want to slow and not do the extra lap. I would have done. I want to save my engine, save my tyres, save a mistake late on in the race. But don't push it, Bjorn. You've got the lead by 18 seconds. Westy is not going to catch you in these final 2 laps. Just keep it together. Keep it together in this final section of the race. And as I say, this will be Bjorn Hagman's 2nd win of the season. We would have 2 wins, 2 third places, and a 4th. So a very consistent run to the flag, as it were. I won't spoil the ending, but this has got championship connotations to it. So Bjorn Hagman was a little bit adrift in the championship. This is going to do his championship a hell of a lot of good. But he just needs to keep it together. No thrills, no spills. He has 18 seconds in the bag. Still the battle between now 5th and 6th. Rob Milliken has now got the bit between his teeth. Does he want 5th? Is this pushing a little bit too far in the final laps? Can Rob Milliken now get 5th place? It does look like Ericsson may be suffering. He did a 2:04 in that last lap. So am I going to change my points again? Is Milliken going to take 5th place? We're going to have to drop back to the lead as Bjorn Hagman comes across the line. It is going to be another lap by 12 seconds. So we are going to drop back to this battle for sorting out between 5th and 6th place. Now, is it going to be as easy as it was with Thomas Jansen making a mistake? Can Milliken push Ericsson to a mistake? Is Ericsson running out of tyres? And we're going to have to keep an eye on where the leader is as well. Going through this short section up towards the Le Mans curve. So he's running out of opportunities. He's got one lap after this. Because none of the field has been lapped, I believe. Oh, slight mistake from Rob Milliken. Is his challenge now over? He has one final lap to catch Ericsson and pass. But was that the last ditch effort? Does he have anything left in the tank? Ericsson has pulled out a 1.5 second gap. Checkered flag is going, but I don't believe they are finished just yet. The leader is coming through the final section of the lap, but he's not to the finish just yet. I am keeping an eye on that gap. It doesn't look like it's going beyond, or come down beyond a second. So Bjorn Hagman comes up the back straight for what will be the final time, and surely a second win of the season. Great drive. He was able to keep the lead from his brother, relative. I'm going to have to find out. Are they brothers? Father and son? Uncle and cousin? I don't know. Bjorn Hagman flashed his lights. The second win of the season. Sebring in the 6th round. Championship connotations. As Nick Westy coming through Sunset Bend for the final time. He will be your championship winner for the Porsche 935 Cup, USA Cup. Lars Hagman a further 7 seconds behind. A very solid drive. He nearly had the lead in turn 1 and 2, but couldn't quite keep it together. And then just have to wait for the final drivers to come in, which is Robin Taylor, a very steady 4th place. Crosses the line. Good team points. Barry Ericsson has fended off the challenge of Rob Milliken. I got some bad news for Rob Milliken fans. Rob Milliken in those last few laps, I think Rob Milliken has misjudged his fuel. He is slowing to a halt. Rob Milliken has run out of fuel on the last lap. Ed Jones is going to pass a stricken Milliken at the side of the road for 7th place. And Jagger is going to come home in 8th place. Tough break for Milliken. Kicking himself. He's holding it in neutral. Can he slosh it around to get any Is it downhill? It's an airfield. I don't know if this car is going to get there. There is no one to push, and I think it might actually be against the rules. If he does get a push, he will get points for 9th place, but that is tough. He's one bend from the end. One bend from the end. So 6th place will go to totaling up the points. I think he's going to run out of momentum. I don't think he are getting to the flag. I don't even know if the engine's running. Let's see. He is in neutral. And it's slowing down. I don't think there is any I don't think he's going to get there. 6 kilometers an hour, 5 kilometers an hour. No, I think that's where you're going to be, Rob. I think that's it. He's maybe hoping for a push. But again, I don't know if it's within the rules. I'm not sure it is within the rules. But I can see a car coming up behind him. It's 6th place. He's going to pass him. Johansson. Nope. Not going to give you a push. Not going to give you a push. That must be heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. And it looks like one of our admins is going to put Rob out of his misery and give him a push to the finish line. So all of that pushing in the final laps pushed his fuel strategy a bit further than he calculated. Well, what a way to finish this season. You have a championship winner in Nick Westy taking the championship. I believe Black Cat Motorsports probably takes the team championship. And Ken Jagger is pushing Rob Milliken, our normal broadcaster, over the line to finish 9th. That was a good run to the end, Rob. You nearly had it, but just fuel strategy let you down. If Bjorn had possibly not run that extra lap, then you would have finished. So absolute heartbreak. Absolute heartbreak. You cannot believe it. You cannot believe it. I believe that Rob probably thought that we weren't going an extra lap. And in the end, unfortunately, we were. Whew, what a race. What a race. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thought it? Right. Let's get the finishing order before the server switches over. So, session results. Let's look at the session results. So, Bjorn Hagman does get first, his second winner of the season. Nick Westy, championship winner in second. Lars Hagman, a great third place, second finish of the season. Robin Taylor in fourth. Barrett Eriksson in fifth. Thomas Johansson, great battle between Barrett Eriksson and Thomas Johansson midway through the race. Ed Jones and Ken Jagger had a right ding-dong down the back of the field. And eventually they did swap places. Ken Jagger unfortunately had a spin at the start of the race. But Ed Jones was able to keep his tyres on his Porsche and was able to overhaul Ken near the end of the race. But the story of the race, I think, is Rob Milliken. He was nearly knocking on the door of 5th place, but that extra lap pushed his fuel strategy too far. He was probably concentrating so hard of getting 5th place, but Ken Jagger was kind to him. Maybe because it was the admin that pushed Rob over the line, maybe they might bend the rules a little for that. You can't disqualify Rob for that. I think that's sportsmanship. So, I didn't want to give away the ending too much, but the points as it stands, I did some quick calculations behind the scenes. Nick Westy finished his first in the championship with 198. As I said, the points did change for Bjorn Hagman. He gets second in the championship, 176. He beats Barrett Eriksson for second place in the championship, who finishes on 172. Ed Jones, 163. Robin Taylor finishes 5th in the championship with 156. Ken Jagger, 128. Finishing ahead of Rob Milliken. Things might have been different between Rob Milliken and Ken Jagger if they had finished around the other way. Rob Milliken finished 7th in the championship. Tony Talviti in 8th. Thomas Johansson in 9th. And Philip Pichler, rounding out the top 10. So thank you for joining me for this, what is the Porsche 935 Championship. We will be back on April 3rd for the RSS Formula V8 Championship in Assetto Corsa. So join me back on the Sim Racing Online YouTube channel for more racing action. I am really looking forward to it. So thank you for joining me. Exciting racing. Be sure to go to simracingonline.co.uk and join up with us. It would be nice to race with you. That was it. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one.